The Friends of God, a scholarly and spiritual exploration of the Awliya Allah. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Sufi Essence with Syed. In the rich and profound tapestry of Islamic spirituality, there exists a concept of immense theological significance and spiritual resonance, the Awliya Allah, or the Friends of God. These are not figures of myth or folklore, but rather a select group of human beings who, through their unwavering faith, sincere devotion, and relentless struggle against the self, have achieved a state of profound intimacy and proximity to the divine. Their existence, their spiritual station, and their role in the cosmic and social order have been a subject of continuous scholarly and mystical discourse for centuries. For many, they are the living embodiment of prophetic ethics, the spiritual inheritors of divine knowledge, and the very heart of the community. Today, we embark on a comprehensive, scholarly, and spiritual exploration of this foundational concept. Our discourse will argue that the doctrine of the Awliya Allah is not a peripheral belief or an innovation. It is a central theological principle, rooted in the very core of the Qur'an and Sunnah. We will show that it offers a profound model of human spiritual perfection, demonstrating a tangible pathway to divine proximity. We will move beyond a superficial understanding to engage with the intricate theological and metaphysical dimensions of their existence, their unique spiritual gifts, and their vital function in the spiritual ecosystem of the world. Our objective is to illuminate the profound reality of the Friends of God, distinguishing the authentic doctrine from popular misconceptions, and showing how their spiritual journey is a living testament to the human capacity for divine love. Part 1. The foundational basis in the Qur'an and Sunnah. The doctrine of the Awliya Allah is not a later mystical invention, but is firmly grounded in the foundational texts of Islam. The very term wali, and its plural, Awliya, appear numerous times in the Quran and are the subject of many profound hadith. The most explicit and widely cited evidence is found in Surah Yunus 10-62. Indeed, the Friends of Allah there will be no fear concerning them, nor will they grieve. This single verse serves as the theological cornerstone of the entire doctrine. It is a direct divine affirmation of a select group of people, granting them a unique status. The verse immediately follows a description of the believers in general, setting the Awliya Allah apart as a special class. The phrase, "no fear concerning them, nor will they grieve," is a powerful description of their spiritual state. It implies a profound sense of tranquility, certainty, and contentment that transcends the anxieties and sorrows of worldly life. They are people who have overcome the fear of death, the grief of loss, and the uncertainty of the future, because their hearts are completely anchored in their relationship with God. In a subsequent verse 10-63, Allah clarifies who these friends are, those who believed and were constantly conscious of God. This clarifies that the path to Wilayah friendship with God is not a matter of special birthright or arbitrary selection, but a direct result of sincere belief and constant piety. The path is open to all who are willing to tread it. In addition to these explicit verses, the Quran contains numerous allusions to the special favor and love God bestows upon His chosen servants. The famous Hadith al-Qudsi, a divine statement transmitted by the Prophet, provides the most detailed description of the journey to Wilayah. My servant continues to draw near to me with supererogatory acts until I love him. When I love him, I am his hearing with which he hears, his sight with which he sees, his hand with which he strikes, and his foot with which he walks. Were he to ask something of me, I would surely give it to him. And were he to seek refuge in me, I would surely grant it to him. This profound hadith beautifully illustrates the transformative nature of this divine friendship. It is not a passive relationship, but an active mutual bond. The servant, through sincere effort in both obligatory and voluntary worship, moves from a state of general belief to a state of profound intimacy, where their every faculty is guided by a divine impulse. This is a state of spiritual perfection, where the human will becomes completely aligned with the divine will. The latter part of the hadith, promising a response to their prayers and protection from all harm, is the theological basis for the Karamat, or the miraculous deeds of the saints. The Karamat are a crucial aspect of the doctrine of the Awliya Allah. These are divine gifts, miracles that God grants to His friends as a sign of their elevated spiritual station. The Qur'an itself provides examples, such as the story of Maryam, who received food in her prayer chamber, the story of the unnamed servant of God in Surah Al-Kahf, who possessed divine knowledge. It is essential to distinguish these from the mujizat miracles of the prophets. The miracles of the prophets are a challenge to the disbelievers and a proof of their prophethood. The miracles of the saints, on the other hand, are a gift from God, a sign of their close relationship with Him, and they are not a proof of prophethood. This distinction, which is central to mainstream Islamic theology, refutes the idea that the saints are a challenge to the finality of prophethood. Part 2. The metaphysical and theological definition of Wilayah. To understand the Awliya Allah, we must delve into the philosophical and theological meaning of Wilayah. The term wali is rooted in the Arabic verb walaya, which means to be near, to be a protector, or to be a friend. In a theological context, it signifies a relationship of deep and continuous intimacy with God. This relationship is not a static state, but a dynamic process of spiritual ascent. Classical scholars have often distinguished between two types of wilayah. The first is a general wilayah that God grants to all believers. As mentioned in the Qur'an, Allah is the protector wali of those who believe. This is a relationship of divine protection and care that is available to all who have sincere faith. The second is a special wilayah that is reserved for a select few who have perfected their spiritual journey. These are the Awliya Allah in the specific, technical sense. The special wilayah is characterized by three core components. Marifa, knowledge of God. This is not a purely intellectual knowledge, but a profound experiential knowledge of God's names and attributes. It is a knowledge that transforms the heart, leading to a state of deep love, awe, and surrender. The Awliya Allah are those who have moved beyond theological propositions to a direct, intuitive grasp of the divine reality. Istiqamah, uprightness, and steadfastness. This is the practical manifestation of their knowledge. The Awliya Allah are those who have perfected their adherence to the Sharia, performing all obligatory acts with sincerity and diligence. They have a steadfastness in their spiritual practice that is unwavering, even in the face of immense hardship. Dhikr, remembrance of God. This is the spiritual engine of their journey. The Allah are those who have reached a state of constant, uninterrupted remembrance of God. Their hearts, and indeed their very being, are in a continuous state of contemplation of the divine. Even while they are engaged in the activities of the world, this is the ruh, or spiritual life, that animates their every thought and action. The spiritual journey of the Awliya Allah often culminates in the mystical concepts of fana, annihilation, and baka, subsistence. This is a highly nuanced and often misunderstood aspect of Sufi thought. Fana does not mean a merger or a fusion with the essence of God. That would be a theological impossibility and a form of shirk. Instead, it refers to the annihilation of the false, ego-driven self. It is the destruction of the lower self, with its desires and its arrogance, to make way for the true God-conscious self. The individual's personality remains, but their will is completely subsumed by the divine will. Baka is the state that follows fana, where the individual subsists in God, a state where their every thought and action is a manifestation of the divine will. This is the ultimate spiritual destination for a human being. This metaphysical framework provides a clear and robust refutation of the common misconception that the Awliya Allah are a challenge to divine law, or that their existence leads to a form of hagiology. They are, in fact, the greatest practitioners of the Sharia, and their greatness lies precisely in their perfect adherence to it. Their spiritual power is a gift from God, and their sole purpose is to guide others to Him, not to be worshipped in His place. Part 3. The role and function of the Awliya in the spiritual ecosystem. The Awliya Allah are not a collection of isolated hermits. They are a vital and active force in the spiritual ecosystem of the world. They function within a complex and often described spiritual hierarchy, which, while not a matter of formal dogma, is a core concept in Sufi cosmology. At the pinnacle of this hierarchy is the Qutb, the pole, a spiritual master who is believed to be the axis of the spiritual universe in his time. Below him are other high-ranking saints, such as the Goth, the Helper, and the Abdal, the substitutes, each with their specific roles and responsibilities in the spiritual governance of the world. This hierarchy far from being a rigid bureaucracy, is a divine system that ensures the spiritual health and stability of the world. The primary role of the Awliya is to be the spiritual inheritors of the Prophet Muhammad Warith al-Anbiya, as there can be no prophet after the Prophet Muhammad. The spiritual guidance and illumination that he brought continues through his inheritors, the Awliya. They carry the light of his spiritual knowledge, his wisdom, and his mercy. They are not prophets, but they are the conduits through which his spiritual legacy flows to the masses. They are the living manifestations of his virtues, the examples that ordinary people can follow. The social function of the Awliya is immense and well documented throughout history. They have served as spiritual guides, reformers, and protectors of the faith. Many of the great saints of Islam were instrumental in the peaceful spread of Islam to new lands, such as Central Asia, India, and West Africa. They preached not with the sword, but with the power of their character, their love, and their spiritual presence. They were also often the conscience of their societies, challenging unjust rulers and speaking truth to power. Their presence in a society is considered a source of divine blessing and spiritual protection. The tombs of the saints are not objects of worship, but are revered as places of blessing and remembrance, where people are reminded of the lives of these great souls and inspired to follow their example. One of the most significant and often contentious aspects of the doctrine is the concept of Tawassul, seeking intercession through the Awliya Allah. For mainstream Sunni thought, Tawassul is a permissible and spiritually beneficial practice. It is not an act of worship directed at the saint, but an act of seeking God's favor through the blessed station of a beloved servant. The distinction is crucial. One worships God alone, but one can ask a righteous person to pray on their behalf, a practice that is well documented in the prophetic traditions. The Awliya Allah, being close to God, are believed to have a special station, and to seek their intercession is to simply ask them to make a supplication to God on one's behalf. It is an act of humility, acknowledging one's own shortcomings and seeking a blessed means to God's mercy. This practice is a beautiful and sophisticated manifestation of the belief in a living spiritual chain that extends from the prophet to the saints and to every sincere believer. Part 4. The Path to Wilayah, Practical and Personal Journey. The most beautiful and empowering aspect of the doctrine of the Awliya Allah is the belief that this state of profound intimacy with God is not an exclusive club, but is, in principle, attainable for any sincere believer. The journey to Wilayah is a practical and personal one, a path of relentless effort and spiritual discipline. The path is often described as the Sufi path, and its stages are well documented in the works of the great Sufi masters. The first and most important step on this journey is Tazkiya al-Nafs, the purification of the soul. The seeker must engage in a continuous struggle against the lower self, with its base desires, its arrogance, and its attachments to the material world. This purification is achieved through the constant remembrance of God Dhikr, sincere repentance Tawbah, and unwavering adherence to the Sharia. The goal is to cleanse the heart of all spiritual diseases, such as envy, greed, pride, and hypocrisy, so that it can become a pure mirror that reflects the divine light. Another essential element of the path is the guidance of a spiritual master, or a sheikh. The journey to Wilayah is treacherous, full of spiritual pitfalls and temptations. A seeker without a guide is like a traveler in a vast and dark desert without a map. The sheikh is a person who has already traversed the path and can guide the seeker, providing them with the necessary spiritual exercises and protecting them from the deceptions of the ego. The relationship between the seeker, murid, and the guide is one of love, respect, and complete trust, a crucial element in the spiritual journey. The ultimate destination of this journey is not a state of passive quietism, but a state of perfect servitude, ubudiyya. The Awliya Allah are not people who have transcended the need for worship. They are the people who have perfected it. They're the living embodiment of the prophetic saying, "Worship God as if you see Him, for if you do not see Him, He surely sees you." Their entire life becomes an act of worship, a living prayer, a continuous act of surrender to the divine will. The path to Wilayah is therefore a path of continuous spiritual struggle, a path that begins with the smallest of steps and culminates in a state of profound and unbreakable intimacy with God. In conclusion, The doctrine of the Awliya Allah is one of the most beautiful and empowering concepts in Islamic spirituality. It is a profound and intricate theological doctrine that provides a clear and rational framework for understanding human spiritual perfection. It is a doctrine that is firmly rooted in the foundational texts of Islam, and it is a doctrine that offers a living, breathing model of what a human being can become through a life of sincere faith and relentless spiritual struggle. The Awliya Allah are not a challenge to the finality of prophethood, nor are they objects of worship. They are the living manifestations of the divine love, the spiritual inheritors of the prophet, and the spiritual heart of the community. Their lives are a testament to the fact that the path to God is not a historical relic, but a living reality, and that with sincerity and perseverance, any soul can embark on this most sacred of all journeys. Thank you for joining us on this intellectual and spiritual journey. Please subscribe to our channel to continue our exploration of the rich and profound essence of Sufism.